The nursery was painted a soft yellow. Naomi stood frozen in the doorway, her hand still on the light switch, staring at the crib that shouldn't exist. The mobile above it had little elephants that would dance if you wound them up. There were stuffed animals arranged on a shelf. A rocking chair sat in the corner with a fuzzy blanket draped over one arm. This was a room designed with love. A room that was ready. A room that was waiting. But it wasn't her room. It wasn't her house. And the woman in the photographs on the dresser wasn't her. 3 hours ago, Naomi had been looking for aspirin in Trevor's briefcase. She'd had a headache that wouldn't quit, and she knew he kept emergency medicine in the front pocket. Instead of pills, her fingers had found papers. A property deed. An address she didn't recognize on the other side of town. At first she'd thought it was a surprise. Maybe Trevor had bought them a new house. Maybe he was planning to tell her this weekend. They'd talked about moving somewhere with a yard, even though they'd stopped talking about why they wanted that yard. They'd stopped talking about a lot of things after the last doctor's appointment. "I'm sorry," the fertility specialist had said, her voice professionally gentle. "But the chances of conception are extremely low. Less than 1%. We've tried everything we can try." Trevor had held Naomi's hand in the doctor's office. He'd said all the right things. "We have each other. That's what matters. We don't need children to be happy." But Naomi had seen something flicker in his eyes. Something that looked like disappointment. Like loss. Like blame. That was 6 months ago. Since then, Trevor had been distant. He worked late most nights. He took calls in the other room. He'd started going to the gym at odd hours. When Naomi suggested they look into adoption, he'd changed the subject. Standing in her kitchen this morning with that property deed in her hands, Naomi had tried to push away the cold feeling in her stomach. She told herself she was being paranoid. She told herself there was a reasonable explanation. Then she'd gotten in her car and driven to the address. The house was in a quiet neighborhood. Newer construction. A 2-story with a front porch and a yard. The kind of place they'd looked at together online but Trevor had said they couldn't afford. There was a car in the driveway. Not Trevor's car, but one she didn't recognize. A small SUV with a car seat visible in the back. Naomi's hands had shaken as she tried the front door. Locked. She'd walked around to the back. The gate had been open. The back door had been unlocked. She should have left. She should have called Trevor. She should have done anything except walk into that house. But her feet had carried her forward like she was watching herself in a dream. The kitchen was clean and modern. There were photos on the refrigerator. Trevor at a park. Trevor at a restaurant. Trevor with his arm around a woman who had long brown hair and a bright smile. Trevor with his hand on a pregnant belly. Naomi had felt the room tilt. She'd gripped the counter to steady herself. That's when she'd seen the calendar. Doctor's appointments marked in neat handwriting. A due date circled in red. 3 weeks away. She'd walked through the house like a ghost. The living room had a couch and a television. Mail sat on the side table. Bills addressed to Trevor and someone named Amber. Upstairs there were 2 bedrooms. The master bedroom had a king-sized bed. There were clothes in the closet. Men's clothes she recognized. Trevor's favorite blue shirt. The jacket she'd bought him for Christmas. The shoes he said he'd left at the gym. And then the nursery. Naomi didn't know how long she stood there. Time had stopped meaning anything. She stared at the crib and felt something inside her chest crack open. This was the room she dreamed about. This was the room she'd planned in her head during all those failed fertility treatments. This was the life she'd wanted. Trevor had given it to someone else. The sound of a car door slamming outside snapped her back to reality. Footsteps on the front porch. A key in the lock. Naomi's heart hammered. She looked around frantically. There was nowhere to hide. She was trapped in this nightmare nursery with its cheerful yellow walls and its promise of a future that didn't include her. The front door opened. A woman's voice called out. "Trevor? Baby, are you home early?" Trevor's voice answered. "Yeah, I finished the meeting early. Thought we could grab lunch." Naomi pressed her back against the wall, her mind racing. She couldn't let them find her here. Not like this. She needed time to think. She needed to understand. She needed to breathe. But her breath was coming in short gasps now. The woman was laughing at something Trevor said. Their footsteps were on the stairs. They were coming up. Naomi moved without thinking. She slipped out of the nursery and into the bathroom across the hall. She locked the door as quietly as she could and stood with her ear pressed against it. "The nursery looks perfect," the woman said. Her voice was sweet and happy. Excited. "I can't believe we're going to meet her soon." A daughter. Trevor was going to have a daughter. "I know," Trevor said. His voice was thick with emotion. The kind of emotion he'd never shown when they'd talked about having children. I can't wait. Did you tell your wife yet? There was a pause. Naomi held her breath. Not yet, Trevor said. Soon. After the baby comes. I'll tell her everything and file for divorce. But I want to wait until Chloe is here safely. I don't want the stress. I understand. I just feel bad sometimes. Living this lie. Don't feel bad. This is real. We're real. Naomi and I, that's been over for a long time. She just doesn't know it yet. The words hit Naomi like physical blows. Each one landed in her chest, her stomach, her throat. She bit down on her fist to keep from making a sound. Come on, Trevor said. Let's go eat. I'm starving. Their footsteps retreated. The front door closed. The car started and drove away. Naomi sank down onto the bathroom floor. She pulled her knees to her chest and let out a sound that was something between a sob and a scream. It came from somewhere deep inside, somewhere she didn't know existed. She'd spent 5 years with Trevor. 5 years of trying to make him happy. 5 years of watching him pull away every time the pregnancy tests came back negative. 5 years of apologizing for her body's failure. 5 years of believing it was somehow her fault that they couldn't have what they wanted. And the whole time he'd been building this. A second life. A second home. A second chance. With someone else. Naomi didn't know how long she sat on that bathroom floor. The afternoon light shifted through the window. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Trevor probably. Wondering where she was. Checking in like he was a devoted husband. Finally she stood up. She washed her face in the sink. She looked at herself in the mirror. Her eyes were red and swollen. Her face was pale. But underneath the shock and the pain she saw something else forming. Anger. Cold, clear, focused anger. Naomi took out her phone. She took pictures of everything. The nursery. The photos. The calendar. The mail. The closet full of Trevor's clothes. She documented every piece of evidence she could find. Then she left the house through the back door, making sure to lock it behind her. She got in her car and drove home. Their home. The home they were supposed to share. The home that suddenly felt like another lie. Trevor came home at 6 like he always did. He kissed her cheek like he always did. He asked about her day like he always did. It was fine, Naomi said. Her voice sounded normal. Come. She was surprised by how steady it was. How was yours? Busy. Meetings all day. I'm exhausted. Liar. Poor thing, Naomi said. She put dinner on the table. Chicken and rice. Trevor's favorite. You should rest. That night she lay next to him in bed. He fell asleep within minutes, snoring softly. Naomi stared at the ceiling, her mind racing. She wasn't going to cry. She wasn't going to beg. She wasn't going to ask him why or how he could do this to her. She was going to take everything from him. Just like he'd taken everything from her. Naomi called in sick to work the next morning. Trevor left for his job at 8, kissing her forehead and telling her to rest. She barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw that yellow nursery. That pregnant woman. That happy smile on Trevor's face when he talked about his daughter. The moment his car pulled out of the driveway, Naomi got up. She made coffee with shaking hands and sat down at the kitchen table with Trevor's laptop. She knew his password. It was the date they'd gotten married. That fact made her laugh, a bitter sound that echoed in the empty house. He used their anniversary as a password while he built a whole separate life. The laptop opened easily. Naomi's hands hovered over the keyboard for a moment. This was it. Once she started digging, there was no going back. Part of her wanted to stay in the comfortable lie. The part that still loved him. The part that wanted to believe this was all a mistake. But that part was getting smaller by the second. She opened his email first. There were hundreds of messages from Amber. Naomi's stomach turned as she scrolled through them. They went back over a year and a half. Long before the last fertility treatment. Long before the doctor had said there was no hope. The early emails were flirty. Amber worked at Trevor's office. She was a project coordinator. 28 years old. She'd started at the company 2 years ago. I had fun at the conference. One email read. We should get drinks again soon. Trevor had gone to a conference in Austin. He told Naomi it was boring. Work stuff. He'd barely called her the 3 days he was gone. Naomi clicked through to Trevor's sent folder. His response made her hands clench into fists. I can't stop thinking about you. When can I see you again? The emails got more detailed. More intimate. They made plans to meet at hotels. They talked about running away together. Trevor wrote things to Amber he'd never written to Naomi. He called her beautiful. He said she made him feel alive. I wish I'd met you first, one email read. Before I married someone who can't give me what I need. Naomi's vision blurred. She forced herself to keep reading. 6 months into the affair, Amber wrote, I'm late. I think I might be pregnant. Trevor's response came within minutes. Are you sure? Let's get a test. If you are, maybe this is meant to be. 3 days later, it's positive. I'm scared. What are we going to do? We're going to be a family, Trevor wrote. I'll take care of everything. I promise. And he had. Naomi found the receipts. The bank statements. Trevor had opened a separate account Naomi didn't know about. He'd been funneling money there for months. Money from his bonuses. Money from a promotion Naomi thought they'd been saving for a new car. He'd bought the house 3 months ago. Cash down payment. The mortgage was in his name only. He'd furnished it piece by piece. Cribs and changing tables and strollers. Everything Naomi had bookmarked online during their fertility journey. Everything he'd said they couldn't afford. The numbers swam in front of her eyes. $40,000. $50,000. More. Money that should have been theirs. Money that should have been for their future. Money he'd spent building a future without her. Naomi opened the photo app on Trevor's laptop. There were albums she'd never seen. Amber was one. Hundreds of pictures. Amber at the beach. Amber at restaurants. Amber laughing. Amber's growing belly. Trevor's hand on that belly. Trevor kissing Amber's cheek. Trevor looking happier than Naomi had ever seen him. There was another album labeled House. Pictures of the empty rooms before furniture. Pictures of Trevor painting the nursery yellow. Pictures of him assembling the crib. He looked proud in every single one. Naomi had begged him to help her paint their spare bedroom. The room they'd planned to turn into a nursery. He'd always been too busy. Too tired. He'd told her they should wait until they had a reason to decorate it. He'd had a reason. Just not with her. The phone records were even worse. Trevor called Amber every day. Sometimes twice. 3 times. He texted her constantly. Good morning, beautiful. Thinking about you. Can't wait to see you tonight. The nights he'd told Naomi he was working late. The mornings he left early for the gym. The weekends he'd had emergency projects. All lies. All time spent with Amber. Naomi checked the calendar on Trevor's phone. The synced one he didn't know she could access. Doctor's appointments for Amber. Ultrasounds. Prenatal vitamins. He'd gone to every single one. He'd seen his daughter on those screens. He'd heard her heartbeat. The things Naomi had dreamed of. The things she'd wanted more than anything. He'd done them all. Just not with her. There was a folder labeled Lawyer in Trevor's documents. Naomi opened it with cold dread. Inside were draft divorce papers. He'd already consulted an attorney. He had a strategy. He was planning to claim they'd grown apart. That the infertility issues had put too much strain on their marriage. He was going to try to keep as much money as possible. There was no mention of Amber in the documents. No mention of the affair. No mention of the house. He was going to blindside Naomi and make himself look like the victim. Naomi sat back from the laptop. Her coffee had gone cold. Her hands had stopped shaking. She felt strangely calm now. The shock was wearing off, replaced by something harder. Something colder. She opened a new browser window and started searching for divorce attorneys. She made a list of the top 5 in the city. She checked reviews. She looked for ones that specialized in hidden assets and infidelity. Then she called the first number. A woman answered. Baker and Associates. How can I help you? I need a lawyer, Naomi said. Her voice was steady. Clear. My husband has been hiding money and having an affair. He's planning to divorce me, but I want to file first. And I want to take everything he has. There was a pause. Can you come in today? Yes. House 2 o'clock? Naomi looked at the clock. It was 10 in the morning. I'll be there. She hung up and made another call. To her bank. I need to open a new account, she told the representative. Just in my name. Can I do that today? Of course. Can you come to a branch? I'll be there at noon. The next call was to her friend Simone. They'd met in college. Simone was a real estate agent now. Successful. Sure. She'd always told Naomi that Trevor seemed controlling. Naomi had defended him. She wasn't going to make that mistake again. Naomi? Simone answered on the first ring. Hey girl. What's up? I need your help, Naomi said. I need to find an apartment. Fast. 1 bedroom. Good security. Something I can move into quickly. Is everything okay? No, Naomi said. She felt the tears building but forced them back. But it will be. Can you help me? Of course. Always. Let me pull up some listings. Can you meet this afternoon? Yes. After 2. Done. I'll text you addresses. Naomi spent the rest of the morning copying files from Trevor's laptop onto a flash drive. Every email. Every photo. Every bank statement. Every receipt. She documented everything she could find. At noon she went to the bank. She opened a new checking account and a new savings account. She transferred half of what was in their joint savings. Was her money too? She'd earned it. She had a right to it. The bank manager looked at her with concern. Are you sure about this? Very sure, Naomi said. At 2 she sat in the office of Rachel Baker, attorney at law. Rachel was in her 50s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. She listened while Naomi explained everything. She looked through the documents Naomi had brought. She nodded slowly. This is bad, Rachel said. What he's doing is very bad. But the good news is you have everything documented. That's going to help us tremendously. What can we do? A lot. First, we file for divorce before he does. We cite adultery and financial deception. We go after the house he bought. We make sure you get what you're entitled to. And we make it very clear that he's not the victim here. How long will it take? That depends on if he fights. But with this evidence, we have a very strong case. He'll probably settle to avoid having all of this come out publicly. I want it to come out, Naomi said. The words surprised her. But once they were out, she knew they were true. I want everyone to know what he did. Rachel smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of someone who liked to win. Then we'll make sure they know. Naomi signed the retainer agreement. She wrote a check from her new account. She felt powerful for the first time in days. At 4, she met Simone at 3 different apartments. The third one was perfect. Small but bright. Safe neighborhood. Available immediately. The landlord could do a credit check today and have her moved in by the weekend. I'll take it, Naomi said. You're sure? Simone asked. Don't you want to think about it? I'm sure. That evening, Naomi packed 3 boxes in their garage. Clothes. Photos. Her important documents. Things she didn't want to leave behind. She hid them in the corner behind Trevor's golf clubs. He never used them. He wouldn't notice. When Trevor came home at 7, Naomi had dinner ready again. She smiled at him. She asked about his day. She listened to his lies about meetings and deadlines. You seem better, Trevor said. Yesterday you looked tired. I feel better, Naomi said. And it was true. She did feel better. She felt like she was finally doing something instead of just suffering. That night in bed, Trevor reached for her. Naomi froze. He hadn't touched her in months. Now suddenly he wanted to? I'm still not feeling great, she lied. Maybe tomorrow. He rolled over without argument. Within minutes he was asleep. Naomi stared at the ceiling again. But this time she wasn't paralyzed by shock. This time she was planning. Thinking. Preparing. Trevor thought he was smart. He thought he'd covered his tracks. He thought he could control the situation. He had no idea what was coming. And Naomi was going to make sure it destroyed him. The next 2 weeks were the hardest of Naomi's life. Every morning she woke up next to Trevor and had to pretend everything was normal. Every night she came home to him and had to smile and cook and act like her heart wasn't shattered into pieces. But underneath the performance she was working. Rachel, her attorney, filed the divorce papers on a Friday afternoon. She'd coordinated with Naomi carefully. The papers would be served to Trevor at his office on Monday morning. By then Naomi would be gone. The weekend before, Naomi moved most of her things out of the house. She did it in small loads while Trevor was at the gym. Clothes, books, her laptop, her jewelry, everything that mattered. She told Trevor she was visiting her sister across town. Trevor barely looked up from his phone. He was texting Amber. Naomi had checked. They were discussing baby names. On Sunday night, Naomi looked around the house they'd bought together 5 years ago. The house where she'd thought they'd grow old. The house where she'd imagined children running through the halls. It didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a prison she was finally escaping. She'd taken photos of everything. The state of the house. Their belongings. She'd cataloged what was hers and what was his. Rachel had told her to document everything before she left. He's going to be angry, Rachel had warned. Men like this don't like losing control. Make sure you're safe. Naomi had nodded. She'd changed the locks on her new apartment. She'd told the building's security not to let anyone up without calling her first. She'd blocked Trevor on everything except email, because Rachel said they needed a record of his communications. Monday morning came. Naomi called in sick to work again. She'd been using her sick days carefully. After today she'd go back. She'd face people's questions. But right now she needed to be somewhere Trevor couldn't find her. She sat in her new apartment at 10 in the morning, her phone in her hand. Rachel had promised to call as soon as the papers were served. At 10:15 her phone rang. "It's done," Rachel said. He was served at his desk. Apparently he went white and had to leave the building. Naomi felt a surge of satisfaction. Good. Let him feel shocked. Let him feel ambushed. Let him feel what she felt standing in that yellow nursery. What happens now? Now we wait for his response. He has 30 days to file. My guess is he'll call you first. Don't answer. Let him leave voicemails. Let him send emails. Everything he says can be used in court. Okay. Naomi? Are you safe? Yes. I'm at my new place. He doesn't know where it is. Good. Keep it that way. I'll be in touch. Naomi's phone started buzzing within minutes. Trevor calling. She let it go to voicemail. He called again. And again. And again. 15 times in the first hour. The voicemail started angry. What the hell is this? Call me back right now. We need to talk about this. Then they got desperate. Naomi, please. This is crazy. We can work this out. Just call me. Then they got manipulative. I know you're upset about the fertility stuff. I'm too. But leaving isn't the answer. We love each other. Call me back and let's talk. She didn't call back. The emails were worse. Long paragraphs about how confused he was. How hurt he was. How this wasn't fair. He tried to make it sound like Naomi was the one who'd done something wrong. I don't understand why you're doing this, one email read. I've been a good husband. I've supported you through everything. And this is how you repay me? By filing for divorce without even talking to me first. Naomi wanted to respond. She wanted to send him screenshots of every email he'd written to Amber. Every picture of the house he'd bought. Every bank statement showing the money he'd stolen. But Rachel had been clear. Don't engage. Not yet. Let him sweat. So she stayed silent. By Monday evening, Trevor showed up at their house. Naomi knew because she had a friend watching. Her neighbor, Mrs. Chin, was an older woman who'd always been kind to Naomi. When Naomi had explained she was leaving and why, Mrs. Chen had been horrified. That terrible man, she'd said. You call me if you need anything. I'll keep an eye on things. Mrs. Chin texted Naomi photos. Trevor's car in the driveway. The lights on inside. She could see him through the window pacing. Talking on the phone. He stayed there until after midnight. Tuesday he called Naomi's work. She'd warned her boss this might happen. Personal situation, she'd said. My husband and I are separating. He might try to contact me here. Her boss, Angela, was a woman in her 60s who'd been through 2 divorces herself. Say no more. I'll have reception block his calls. Wednesday, Trevor tried showing up at Naomi's mother's house. But Naomi had already told her family everything. She'd sent them copies of the emails. Photos of the house. Evidence of the affair. Her mother had cried. Then she'd gotten angry. I never liked him, she'd said. I always thought he was too smooth. Too perfect. I should have said something. It's not your fault, Naomi had told her. I'm proud of you for leaving, her mother said. You're stronger than you know. Her brother had been less diplomatic. I want to punch him in the face. Don't, Naomi said. Rachel says any confrontation could hurt the case. We have to be smart about this. Fine. But if I see him, I'm walking the other way before I do something stupid. When Trevor showed up at her mother's house, her brother answered the door. She doesn't want to talk to you. Leave. This is between me and my wife. Your soon-to-be ex-wife. And no, it's not. You made it everybody's business when you decided to cheat. Now get off this property before I call the police. Trevor left. But he was getting more frantic. More angry. Thursday, Naomi got an email from Amber. Her stomach twisted when she saw the name in her inbox. I don't know what Trevor told you, the email read. But he and I are in love. We're having a baby. You need to let him go. Dragging this out in court isn't going to change anything. He doesn't love you anymore. He hasn't for a long time. Naomi read the email 3 times. Then she forwarded it to Rachel without responding. Rachel called immediately. This is good. Very good. She just admitted to the affair in writing. And she's admitting she knew about you. Any sympathy a judge might have had for her just went out the window. She sounds so sure of herself, Naomi said. Like she won. She didn't win anything. She got a cheater and a liar. Someone who betrayed his wife. You think she's special? You think he won't do the same thing to her? Naomi hadn't thought about it that way. But Rachel was right. Trevor had made promises to Naomi. He'd broken every one. What made Amber think she was different? They deserve each other, Naomi said. Exactly. Friday afternoon, Trevor's response to the divorce filing came through. His lawyer was fighting everything. Claiming the affair never happened. Claiming the money was his. Claiming Naomi was being vindictive and unreasonable. Rachel laughed when she read it. They have no idea what we have. Should we show them? Yes, Naomi said. Let's show them everything. Rachel filed a motion with the court. Attached to it were copies of every email between Trevor and Amber. Photos of the house. Bank statements. The property deed. Phone records. Everything. The response from Trevor's lawyer came within hours. A terse email requesting a meeting to discuss settlement. They know they can't win, Rachel said. They're going to try to settle quietly to avoid this going to trial. But we're not going to make it easy. What do you mean? I mean we're going to take everything we can get. And then we're going to make sure everyone knows what he did. Naomi felt something inside her settle. This was really happening. She was really doing this. She was fighting back. That weekend, Naomi did something she hadn't done in years. She went out with friends. Real friends, not couples friends she and Trevor had seen together. Women she'd known before him. Women she'd lost touch with because Trevor had always found reasons they couldn't make plans. I've missed you, her friend Rhonda said over drinks. Rhonda was a teacher, warm and funny and real. Where have you been? Living a lie apparently, Naomi said. And then she told them everything. They were shocked, angry, supportive. They hugged her and bought her drinks and told her she was going to be okay. You're amazing, Simone said. Most people would have fallen apart. But look at you. You're handling this like a boss. I don't feel like a boss, Naomi admitted. I feel like I'm barely holding it together. You're doing better than barely, Rhonda said. You're doing everything right. And you're going to come out of this stronger. Naomi wanted to believe her. Some days she did. Other days she woke up and forgot for a moment what had happened. Then reality would crash back in and she'd have to remember all over again that her marriage was over. That the man she'd loved had betrayed her in the worst possible way. But she was surviving. One day at a time. One decision at a time. One step forward. And Trevor? Trevor was panicking. She could tell from his increasingly desperate messages. He was starting to realize he might actually lose. That his perfect little secret life might cost him everything. Good, Naomi thought. Let him lose. Let him feel what it's like to have your whole world ripped apart. She'd felt it. Now it was his turn. 2 weeks after the divorce papers were served, Naomi went back to work. She told her boss everything. Angela had been understanding, giving her the time she needed. But bills didn't stop coming just because your life fell apart. And Naomi needed routine. She needed to feel normal even if nothing was normal anymore. Walking into the office felt strange. Everyone knew. Small offices were like that. Word spread fast. She could see it in their faces when she walked through the door. The sympathy. The curiosity. The whispered conversations that stopped when she got close. Naomi held her head high. She smiled. She answered their careful questions with short, polite responses. Yes, Trevor and I are separating. Yes, I'm doing okay. Thank you for asking. Her coworker Marcus, a kind man in his 40s who'd always been friendly, stopped by her desk at lunch. Hey, I just wanted to say I'm sorry for what you're going through. And if you need anything, I'm here. Thank you, Naomi said. She meant it. My sister went through something similar a few years ago. Her husband had a whole second family. It was rough. But she's happy now. Happier than she ever was with him. Naomi forwarded the email to Rachel. Add it to the file. A week before the settlement conference, Naomi did something reckless. She drove back to the house. The one Trevor had bought for Amber. She didn't know why. Maybe she needed to see it again to make it real. Maybe she needed to prove to herself it wasn't just a nightmare. She parked down the street and watched. It was 7 in the evening. Lights were on inside. She could see shadows moving past the windows. Then the front door opened. Amber came out, very pregnant now. She had to be close to her due date. She waddled to the mailbox and back. Trevor appeared in the doorway. He put his hand on her belly. He kissed her forehead. Naomi should have felt jealous. She should have felt sad. But watching them, all she felt was relief. She didn't want that life anymore. She didn't want a man who could lie so easily. who could build a whole separate world while looking her in the eyes every day and telling her he loved her. She didn't want Trevor. She wanted her life back. Her dignity. Her peace. She drove away and didn't look back. That night, she got a call from Simone. "Hey, I know this might be too soon, but there's this hiking group I'm part of. We go out every Saturday morning. It's a nice group of people. Would you want to come?" Naomi's first instinct was to say no. She wasn't ready to meet new people. She wasn't ready to pretend to be social. But then she thought about sitting in her apartment alone all weekend, thinking about Trevor and Amber and the baby that was coming, drowning in anger and hurt. "Yes," she heard herself say. "I'll come." "Really? That's great. We meet at 7 at the trailhead. I'll text you the address." Saturday morning came cold and clear. Naomi almost backed out a dozen times. But she forced herself to get dressed, to drive to the trailhead, to park her car and walk toward the group of people gathered by the sign. Simone waved when she saw her. "You made it. Everyone, this is my friend Naomi." There were about 8 people in the group. They were friendly without being pushy. They made small talk as they started up the trail. Nothing too personal. Just easy conversation. Naomi felt herself relax. The morning air was cool. The trees were beautiful. She could hear birds singing. For the first time in weeks, she felt like she could breathe. Halfway up the trail, she found herself walking next to a man about her age. He had kind eyes and an easy smile. "First time hiking with us?" he asked. "Yeah. Simone dragged me out. I'm not much of a hiker." "That's okay. We're pretty casual. More about getting outside than breaking any speed records." "I'm Naomi." "Julian. Nice to meet you." They walked together for a while. Julian told her about the trail, about the view at the top. He was patient when she needed to catch her breath. He pointed out interesting plants and birds. At the summit, Naomi looked out over the city. She could see for miles. The world felt big. Her problems felt smaller. "It's beautiful," she said. "It is," Julian agreed. "I come up here when I need perspective. Reminds me there's more to life than whatever's stressing me out." "I could use some perspective," Naomi admitted. "Bad week. Bad year." Julian nodded. "I've been there. Gets better though. Eventually." "I hope so." They hiked back down together. At the bottom, the group made plans to meet again next week. Naomi surprised herself by saying she'd be there. Driving home, she felt different. Lighter. Like maybe, just maybe, she was going to be okay. That night, she got an email from Rachel. "Settlement conference is this Friday at 10. Are you ready?" Naomi looked around her small apartment. Her new life. Her fresh start. "Yes," she typed back. "I'm ready." It was time to face Trevor. Time to end this chapter. Time to take back what was hers and move on. And she was going to do it with her head held high. The conference room was cold. Naomi sat next to Rachel at a long table, her hands folded in her lap to keep them from shaking. Across from them were 2 empty chairs. Trevor and his lawyer were late. "Don't let him see you nervous," Rachel whispered. "You have all the power here. Remember that." Naomi nodded. She dressed carefully this morning. A navy suit. Heels. Her hair pulled back. She looked professional. Confident. Nothing like the broken woman who'd discovered the yellow nursery. The door opened. Trevor walked in with his lawyer, a middle-aged man in an expensive suit who looked annoyed. Trevor wouldn't meet Naomi's eyes. He looked terrible. He'd lost weight. There were dark circles under his eyes. His shirt wasn't pressed properly. Good, Naomi thought. Everyone sat. The mediator, an older woman named Judge Harris, reviewed the ground rules. This was a settlement conference. The goal was to reach an agreement both parties could live with. If they couldn't, the case would proceed to trial. Trevor's lawyer started talking. He laid out Trevor's position. The marriage had broken down due to the stress of infertility. Both parties shared responsibility. Trevor was willing to offer a fair division of assets. He wanted to avoid a lengthy court battle. He didn't mention Amber. He didn't mention the house. He didn't mention the affair. When he finished, Rachel smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Let's talk about fair," she said. She pulled out a folder. "Let's talk about the $53,000 Trevor transferred from joint accounts to a private account his wife knew nothing about. Let's talk about the house he purchased in his name only, using marital funds for his mistress. Let's talk about the affair that's been going on for over a year and a half." She spread documents across the table. Bank statements. Emails. Photos. The property deed. Trevor's lawyer went pale. He looked at Trevor. "You said there was no affair." Trevor said nothing. You said the money issues were due to the fertility treatments. Still nothing. Judge Harris picked up one of the emails. She read it. Her expression didn't change, but Naomi saw disgust flicker in her eyes. Mr. Pierce, did you or did you not have an extramarital affair? Trevor finally spoke. His voice was hoarse. Yes. But it wasn't like that. Naomi and I were already over. We just hadn't admitted it. That's not what your emails say, Rachel said. You wrote to your mistress about how guilty you felt. How you hated lying. You knew exactly what you were doing. Amber was pregnant, Trevor said. What was I supposed to do? Not cheat on your wife? Naomi said. The words came out before she could stop them. Everyone looked at her. You were supposed to not cheat on your wife. You were supposed to talk to me if you were unhappy. You were supposed to be honest. You couldn't give me a child, Trevor said. His voice was rising. You knew how much I wanted kids. You knew. And you couldn't do it. The words hit Naomi like a slap. But she'd been preparing for this. She'd known he'd try to blame her. I couldn't get pregnant, she said slowly. We couldn't get pregnant. Takes two people. But you didn't want to accept that it might be your issue too. You wanted to blame me. And then you went out and proved you could have a child with someone else. Like I was the problem all along. You were the problem. Mr. Pierce, Judge Harris said sharply. Control yourself. Trevor's lawyer put a hand on his arm. Don't say anything else. But Trevor was past listening. I spent 5 years watching her cry every month. 5 years of doctors and tests and hope and disappointment. 5 years of my life wasted on someone who couldn't give me what I needed. Then you should have left, Naomi said. Her voice was steady now. Colt, you should have divorced me. But you didn't. You stayed. You lied. You took my money and my trust and you built a life with someone else while I thought we were trying to build one together. I was trying to protect you. You were trying to protect yourself. You wanted everything. A wife at home. A girlfriend on the side. A baby. You wanted it all and you didn't care who you hurt to get it. Trevor stood up. I don't have to listen to this. Sit down, Mr. Pierce, Judge Harris said, or I'll hold you in contempt. Trevor sat. His hands were shaking. The mediator looked at the evidence Rachel had spread across the table. She looked at Trevor's lawyer. Do you dispute any of these documents? We need time to review. It's all real, Trevor said. He sounded defeated. Everything she said. It's all real. His lawyer closed his eyes. I need to speak with my client alone. They left the room. Rachel turned to Naomi. You did great. Don't back down now. I won't, Naomi said. And she meant it. 20 minutes later, Trevor and his lawyer came back. Trevor wouldn't look at anyone. His lawyer spoke. My client would like to propose a settlement. We're listening, Rachel said. Mr. Pierce will agree to a division of assets 70-30 in Mrs. Pierce's favor. He'll take full responsibility for the mortgage on the second property. He'll waive any claim to alimony. And he requests that the details of the affair remain sealed from public record. Rachel looked at Naomi. They discussed this possibility. Rachel had advised her on what to push for. Not good enough, Rachel said. We want 80-20. We want Mr. Pierce to pay Mrs. Pierce's legal fees. And we want a public acknowledgement of the affair. That's not reasonable. Do you want to go to trial? Rachel asked. Because if we do, every single one of these emails becomes part of the public record. Every photo. Every bank statement. The press will have a field day. Mr. Pierce works in finance, doesn't he? At Morrison and Associates? I wonder how his employers will feel about this. Trevor's face went white. You can't. I absolutely can, Rachel said. You made this mess. Now you get to clean it up. Trevor's lawyer held up a hand. Give us another minute. They stepped out again. This time they were gone for almost an hour. Naomi's stomach was in knots. Judge Harris brought in coffee. Naomi couldn't drink any. You're doing the right thing, Rachel said quietly. Don't doubt yourself now. I just want it to be over, Naomi admitted. It will be. Soon. When Trevor and his lawyer returned, Trevor looked broken. Fine, he said. 80-20. I'll pay her legal fees. But please don't make this public. I'm begging you. Naomi looked at him. This man she'd loved. This man she trusted. This man who'd destroyed everything they'd built together. Part of her wanted to make him suffer. Wanted to expose him to everyone. Wanted him to feel the humiliation she'd felt. But another part of her just wanted it to be over. Wanted to move on. Wanted to be free. I want a statement, she said. Signed by you. admitting what you did. It won't be filed publicly unless you fail to honor the settlement. If you pay what you owe, if you leave me alone, it stays private. But if you try anything, if you come near me, if you harass me, if you fail to pay, then it goes public. Understand? Trevor nodded. Yes. And I want this to be final in 90 days. I want it done fast. We can do that, his lawyer said. Rachel drafted the agreement right there. Both parties signed. Judge Harris witnessed it. It was done. Naomi walked out of that conference room a different person than she'd walked in. She was no longer Trevor's wife. She was no longer the woman who'd failed to give him what he wanted. She was Naomi. Just Naomi. And that was enough. Outside, Rachel hugged her. You were amazing in there. Thank you. For everything. That's my job. Now go live your life. Naomi drove home in a daze. It was only noon. The whole meeting had taken less than 3 hours. 3 hours to end a 5-year marriage. She went to her apartment and sat on her couch. She thought about crying. She thought about celebrating. In the end, she just sat there, feeling numb. Her phone buzzed. A text from Simone. How did it go? It's done. We settled. That's great. Are you okay? I will be. Hiking tomorrow? Naomi smiled. Yeah, hiking tomorrow. That night, she couldn't sleep. She lay in bed and thought about everything that had happened. The discovery. The anger. The fear. The settlement. She thought about the baby. Ember's baby. Trevor's daughter. She'd be born any day now. Naomi felt a pang. Not jealousy. Not anymore. But sadness. For the child. For the life that little girl would have with a father who lied so easily. But it wasn't Naomi's problem anymore. It wasn't her life. It wasn't her responsibility. She'd done what she needed to do. She'd stood up for herself. She'd fought back. She'd won. Now she just had to figure out what came next. The first week after the settlement was strange. Naomi kept expecting Trevor to call. To show up at her apartment. To try one more time to convince her this was all a mistake. But he didn't. Rachel had made it very clear what would happen if he violated the agreement. The signed statement admitting to the affair would be filed with the court. His employer would be notified. His family would be sent copies. Trevor had too much to lose. So he stayed away. Naomi should have felt relieved. Instead, she felt hollow. Like the anger that had been driving her for weeks had burned out, leaving nothing behind but ash. She went to work. She went hiking on Saturdays with Simone's group. She came home to her empty apartment and tried to figure out who she was now that she wasn't Trevor's wife. Her mother called every day. How are you doing, baby? I'm okay, Mom. You don't sound okay. I'm alive. That's something. It's more than something. You're strong. You did the right thing. I'm proud of you. Naomi wanted to believe her. Some days she did. Other days she wondered if she'd made a mistake. If she should have tried harder to save her marriage. If she should have forgiven Trevor. But then she'd remember the yellow nursery. The emails. The lies. And she'd know she'd made the only choice she could. 2 weeks after the settlement, the divorce was finalized. Naomi got a copy of the decree in the mail. She stared at it for a long time. This piece of paper meant her marriage was officially over. She wasn't Mrs. Pierce anymore. She was just Naomi again. She cried that night. Not for Trevor. Not for what they'd had. But for what she'd thought they'd had. For the future she'd imagined. For the family she'd wanted. The next morning she woke up and decided to do something different. She called her old university. I'd like to inquire about finishing my master's degree, she told the admissions office. I left the program 5 years ago. Is it possible to come back? It was possible. They'd review her credits. She could start again in the fall semester. Naomi had been working on her master's in social work when she met Trevor. He'd convinced her to take a break after they got married. Focus on us, he'd said. You can always go back. But she never had. There had always been a reason. They were saving for a house. They were trying for a baby. The timing wasn't right. Now the timing was perfect. She also started volunteering at a children's hospital. Every Tuesday and Thursday evening, she'd go to the pediatric ward and read stories to the kids. She'd play games with them. She'd sit with the lonely ones whose parents couldn't visit. It broke her heart and healed it at the same time. These children needed love. They needed attention. They needed someone to care. Naomi could be that someone. Even if she'd never have biological children of her own. You're good with them, one of the nurses told her. Have you thought about becoming a foster parent? Naomi hadn't. But once the nurse said it, she couldn't stop thinking about it. She went home and researched. what it took to become a foster parent. The training, the requirements, the process. It was daunting, but possible. She wasn't ready yet. She knew that. She needed to finish her degree. She needed to be more stable. She needed to heal more. But someday, maybe someday. The hiking group became the highlight of Naomi's week. Every Saturday she'd meet Simone and the others at the trailhead. They'd hike for a few hours. They'd have lunch at the summit. They'd talk about everything and nothing. Julian was always there. He was quiet but kind. He asked questions without being nosy. He made her laugh without trying too hard. After a few weeks, Naomi learned more about him. He was a teacher. 4th grade. He'd been divorced for 3 years. He had a daughter who lived with him full-time. Her name was Sophie. Her mom left when Sophie was 2, Julian told Naomi one Saturday. Said she wasn't ready to be a mother. I haven't heard from her since. I'm sorry. Don't be. Sophie and I are doing great. It's just the 2 of us, but we're happy. That's what matters. What about you? Julian asked carefully. Simone mentioned you're going through a divorce. Went through. It's finalized now. How are you doing with that? Naomi thought about lying. About saying she was fine. But there was something about Julian that made her want to be honest. Some days are good, she said. Some days are hard. I'm working on it. That's all you can do. Take it day by day. They hiked in comfortable silence for a while. Naomi felt peace with Julian that she hadn't felt with anyone in a long time. He didn't push. He didn't pry. He just existed beside her. One Saturday in June, 3 months after the settlement, Naomi came home to find a letter in her mailbox. No return address. Her hands shook as she opened it. It was from Amber. I thought you should know that Trevor is gone. He left 2 weeks after the baby was born. He couldn't handle the reality of being a father. The sleepless nights. The crying. The responsibility. He said he'd made a mistake. He said he never should have left you. He asked me to tell you he's sorry. Naomi read the letter twice. Then she crumpled it up and threw it away. She didn't care where Trevor was. She didn't care if he was sorry. He'd made his choices. Now he had to live with them. She felt sorry for Amber. Sorry for the baby. But she didn't feel responsible for them. They weren't her problem to fix. That night she texted Simone. Want to get dinner? Always. Everything okay? Yeah. I think it finally is. They met at a small Italian restaurant. Naomi told Simone about the letter. He left her? Simone looked shocked. After everything? Apparently fatherhood wasn't as fun as he thought it would be. What a piece of trash. Yeah, Naomi said. But not my trash anymore. They laughed. Naomi felt something lift inside her. She was really okay. She was really moving on. Julian asks about you, you know, Simone said casually. Naomi felt her cheeks warm. What does he ask? If you're seeing anyone. If you're ready to date. Normal stuff. What did you tell him? That you should ask yourself. Naomi thought about it. Was she ready? Could she trust someone again? She didn't know. But maybe she didn't need to know. Maybe she just needed to try. Next time we hike, Naomi said. Tell him to ask me himself. Simone grinned. Will do. That night, Naomi looked around her apartment. It was small but it was hers. Every piece of furniture. Every decoration. Every choice. She built this life. Not Trevor. Not anyone else. Just her. And it was a good life. It was getting better every day. She still had hard moments. She still had days where she cried. Where she felt angry. Where she wished things had been different. But those days were getting fewer. The good days were starting to outnumber the bad. Naomi opened her laptop and pulled up the university website. She registered for her fall classes. Social work. Child development. Family systems. She was going to help people. She was going to make a difference. She was going to build the life she'd always wanted. Just not the way she'd imagined. And that was okay. Fall came and with it a new routine. Naomi started her master's program in September. 3 nights a week she went to class after work. It was exhausting but good. She'd forgotten how much she loved learning. How much she loved being challenged. Her classmates were younger than her. Fresh out of college. Full of energy and ideas. At first Naomi felt old. Out of place. But then she realized she had something they didn't. Life experience. Perspective. She'd been through real pain. She knew what suffering looked like. She could use that. She could turn her worst experience into something that helped others. In one of her classes, Family Dynamics, the professor asked everyone to share why they'd chosen social work. Naomi's turn came. She took a breath. I spent 5 years trying to build a family, she said. I thought I knew what family meant. Marriage, children, a house, the traditional picture. But my marriage ended and I lost that dream. And I had to figure out what family really means. It's not about blood. It's not about biology. It's about showing up, about caring, about being there. I want to help people build families, real families, in whatever form that takes. The classroom was quiet when she finished. The professor nodded. Thank you for sharing that, Naomi. That's a powerful perspective. After class, a few students came up to her. They told her they'd been through divorces too, that they understood, that her words had resonated. Naomi felt less alone than she had in months. She also threw herself into her volunteer work at the hospital. She learned the names of all the regular kids, the ones with chronic illnesses, the ones who came back again and again. There was one boy, Marcus, who was 7 years old. He had leukemia. He'd been in and out of the hospital for 2 years. His parents both worked full-time and couldn't visit often. Marcus loved dinosaurs. Every time Naomi came, she'd bring him a new dinosaur book. They'd read together. She'd make the dinosaur sounds and he'd laugh. You're my favorite, Marcus told her one Tuesday. You're my favorite too, Naomi said. And she meant it. She started thinking more seriously about fostering. She attended an information session at the foster agency. She learned about the process, the requirements, the training. It's not easy, the social worker warned. These kids come from trauma. They have behavioral issues, trust issues. You have to be patient. You have to be strong. I understand, Naomi said. Why do you want to foster? Naomi thought about how to answer. I have a lot of love to give. And I've learned that family isn't about biology. It's about choice. I want to choose to love a child who needs it. The social worker smiled. That's exactly the kind of person we need. Naomi started the application process. It would take months. Background checks, home visits, training classes. But she was committed. She also started taking better care of herself. She joined a gym. Not to lose weight or look a certain way. Just to feel strong. To feel capable. She took a painting class at the community center. She'd loved art in high school but had stopped after college. After Trevor. He'd always made fun of her paintings. Said they were childish. Her first painting in the new class was abstract. Wild colors. Bold strokes. She titled it Freedom. This is wonderful, the instructor said. You have real emotion in your work. Naomi kept painting. She hung her work in her apartment. Every piece was a part of her healing. A part of her journey. The hiking group continued every Saturday. Naomi never missed a week. The mountains had become her sanctuary. The place where she felt most at peace. Julian was always there too. They'd fallen into an easy friendship. They walked together. Talked together. Laughed together. One Saturday in October after the hike, Julian approached her. Hey, can I ask you something? Sure. A group of us are going out for dinner tonight. Want to come? It wasn't a date. It was a group thing. But Naomi's heart still beat a little faster. Yeah, that sounds nice. They went to a Mexican restaurant. The whole hiking group was there. About 10 people. They ate and drank and told stories. It was fun. Easy. Natural. At one point, Julian's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and smiled. Sorry, it's Sophie. She's at a sleepover and wants to make sure I'm still alive. How old is she? Naomi asked. 8. Going on 18. She's my whole world. That's sweet. What about you? Do you want kids? The question should have hurt. A year ago it would have destroyed her. But now Naomi could answer honestly. I do. Just not the way I thought. I'm actually starting the process to become a foster parent. Julian's eyes lit up. Really? That's amazing. You think so? I do. Foster kids need good people. People who care. You'd be great at it. Something warm spread through Naomi's chest. Validation. Understanding. From someone who got it. Sophie's adopted, Julian said quietly. After her mom left, I went through the process. Made it legal. She's mine in every way that matters. That's beautiful. Family is what you make it, right? Right. They looked at each other. Something shifted between them. Something neither of them said but both of them felt. When the group broke up for the night, Julian walked Naomi to her car. I had fun tonight, he said. Me too. Maybe we could do it again sometime. Just the two of us. Naomi's breath caught. This was it. He was asking her out. A year ago she would have said no. She would have said she wasn't ready. That she needed more time. But she was ready. She was healing. She was ready to try. I'd like that, she said. Julian smiled. How about next Friday? There's a good Thai place downtown. It's a date. Driving home, Naomi felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Oh, excitement. The possibility of something new. She wasn't looking to replace Trevor. She wasn't looking to fill a void. She was just ready to open her heart again. To let someone else in. To see what might happen. That week, she told her therapist about Julian. How do you feel about dating again? Dr. Williams asked. Nervous, but excited. Is that normal? Very normal. It means you've healed enough to take a risk. That's good. What if I make the same mistakes? You won't. You're not the same person you were when you married Trevor. You know what you want now. What you need. What you won't tolerate. I guess so. You've done incredible work, Naomi. You should be proud of yourself. Naomi was proud. She looked back at the woman she'd been a year ago. The woman who'd stood in that yellow nursery. The woman who'd felt like her life was ending. That woman had survived. She'd fought. She'd rebuilt. And now she was ready to live. Friday came. Naomi spent an hour getting ready. She wore a green dress. Did her hair. Put on makeup for the first time in months. She looked in the mirror and barely recognized herself. She looked happy. Confident. Alive. Julian picked her up at 7. He looked nervous, which made Naomi feel better. You look beautiful, he said. Thank you. You look nice too. Dinner was perfect. They talked about everything. Their jobs. Their families. Their hopes for the future. Julian was easy to talk to. He listened. Really listened. Can I ask you something personal? Julian said over dessert. Sure. What happened with your marriage? You don't have to answer if you don't want to. Naomi thought about it. She could give him the short version. The polite version. But she wanted to be honest. My husband had an affair. He got another woman pregnant while we were trying to have a baby. He built a whole second life without telling me. Julian's face fell. I'm so sorry. It's okay. I mean, it's not okay. But I'm okay now. It took a long time. A lot of therapy. But I'm in a better place. That must have been devastating. It was. But it also freed me. I realized I'd been living for someone else. For his dreams. His expectations. Now I'm living for me. I respect that. They talked until the restaurant closed. Then they sat in Julian's car in the parking lot and talked some more. I should probably get you home, Julian finally said. Even though I don't want this night to end. Me either. He drove her back to her apartment. Walked her to the door. I had a really great time, he said. Me too. Can I see you again? Yes. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. But Naomi didn't pull away. The kiss was soft, sweet, full of promise. When it ended, they both smiled. Good night, Naomi. Good night, Julian. Inside her apartment, Naomi leaned against the door and let herself feel happy. Really, truly happy. She was building a new life. A better life. A life that was authentically hers. And it was just beginning. November brought cold weather and new possibilities. Naomi continued seeing Julian. They took things slow. 1 date a week. Sometimes 2. They talked every day. Text messages. Phone calls. Nothing rushed. Nothing forced. It felt different from her relationship with Trevor. Healthier. More equal. Julian asked her opinions. He listened when she talked. He respected her boundaries. I'm not in a hurry, he told her one night. We can take all the time you need. Thank you, Naomi said. She meant it. In December, Julian invited her to meet Sophie. No pressure, he said. But she's been asking about you. And you're important to me. If this is going to be serious, I want you two to meet. Naomi's stomach flipped. Meeting Julian's daughter felt significant. But she was ready. They met at a park. Sophie was small for 8 with dark hair and braids and curious brown eyes. She was shy at first, hiding behind Julian's leg. Sophie, this is my friend Naomi, Julian said. Hi Sophie, Naomi said. Your dad told me you like science. Sophie nodded. I used to love science too. Especially experiments. Have you ever made a volcano? Sophie's eyes lit up. With baking soda? Yeah. It's so cool. Within minutes, Sophie was chattering away, telling Naomi about school, her friends, her rock collection, her dreams of being an astronaut. Julian watched them with a soft smile. At one point, Sophie took Naomi's hand to show her something. The gesture made Naomi's heart squeeze. This was what family could look like. Not perfect, not traditional, but real. Built on care and choice and showing up. She likes you, Julian said later, after they dropped Sophie back at her grandmother's house. I like her too. She's amazing. She is. Julian paused. I have to be careful about who I bring into her life. She's been through a lot with her mom leaving. I don't want her to get attached to someone who might leave. I understand. So I need to know. Are you serious about this? About us? Naomi thought carefully before answering. I'm serious about trying. I can't promise it'll work forever. No one can. But I can promise I won't disappear. Even if things don't work out romantically, I'll still be around. I'll still care about both of you. Julian reached for her hand. That's all I needed to hear. That same month, Naomi finished her foster parent training. She passed all the background checks. Her home was inspected and approved. She was officially ready to take a placement. It could happen fast, her caseworker warned. We might call you with just a few hours' notice. I'm ready, Naomi said. She'd prepared a room in her apartment. Painted it a soft blue. Bought a twin bed and a dresser. Stocked it with toys and books for different ages. She wanted whoever came to feel welcome. Safe. The call came on a Tuesday in January. Naomi was at work when her phone rang. We have a placement, the caseworker said. A 6-year-old boy. His name is Isaiah. He was removed from his home last night due to neglect. He's scared and confused. Can you take him? Naomi's heart pounded. This was it. This was real. Yes. When? We can bring him in 2 hours. Naomi left work early. She went home and double-checked everything. The room. The food in her fridge. She wanted everything to be perfect. When the doorbell rang, she took a deep breath and opened the door. Isaiah was small. Too small for 6. He had big eyes and messy hair. He clutched a plastic bag with his belongings. He wouldn't meet Naomi's gaze. Hi Isaiah, Naomi said gently. I'm Naomi. Welcome to my home. He didn't respond. The caseworker stayed for an hour. Explained Isaiah's situation. He'd been living with his mother who had severe addiction issues. This was his 3rd placement in foster care. The last 2 homes hadn't worked out. After the caseworker left, Naomi and Isaiah sat in the living room. He still wouldn't talk. Wouldn't look at her. Are you hungry? She asked. A small nod. She made him mac and cheese. His favorite, the caseworker had said. He ate silently. That night, putting him to bed, Isaiah finally spoke. Are you going to send me back? Naomi's heart broke. No, sweetie. You're safe here. You can stay as long as you need. That's what they all say. I know. But I mean it. Isaiah didn't believe her. She could see it in his eyes. And she understood. He'd been let down before. He'd been hurt. Trust wasn't something she could demand. It was something she'd have to earn. The first weeks with Isaiah were hard. He had nightmares. He'd wake up screaming. Naomi would sit with him until he fell back asleep. He hoarded food. She'd find crackers under his bed. Fruit in his drawers. It broke her heart. But she didn't make him stop. She just quietly made sure he always knew when the next meal was coming. He tested her constantly. Breaking things. Talking back. Refusing to follow rules. Naomi stayed calm. Consistent. Patient. I'm not going anywhere, she told him every night. No matter what. Slowly things got better. Isaiah started smiling sometimes. Laughing at cartoons. Playing with the toys she'd bought. One day he brought her a picture he'd drawn at school. This is us, he said. 2 stick figures. One tall. One small. That's you. And that's me. Naomi put it on the refrigerator. It was the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen. She told Julian about Isaiah. It's hard, she admitted. Harder than I expected. But also more rewarding. You're doing an amazing thing, Julian said. Some days I'm not sure I'm doing it right. The fact that you care means you're doing it right. In February, Naomi invited Julian and Sophie over for dinner. She was nervous about Isaiah meeting them. What if he felt threatened? What if he acted out? But Isaiah surprised her. He was quiet at first. But Sophie was so friendly and open that he relaxed. Soon they were playing together in the living room while the adults cooked. They're cute together, Julian said. They are. This feels right, Julian said quietly. All of us together. Naomi looked at him. At Sophie. At Isaiah. This makeshift family they were building. Yeah, she agreed. It does. That night after Julian and Sophie left, Isaiah asked, Is Julian your boyfriend? Sort of, Naomi said. We're dating. Is that okay? Isaiah thought about it. Does he have a kid? Yes. Sophie. The girl you played with. She's nice. She is. Are they going to live here? No. They have their own home. But they might visit sometimes. If that's okay with you. Isaiah nodded. It's okay. Progress, Naomi thought. It was all progress. In March, Isaiah's caseworker called. We need to talk about Isaiah's future. His mother is in rehab. She might get him back eventually. But it's going to be a long process. I understand. Are you willing to keep him long-term? Maybe even adopt if it comes to that? Naomi's breath caught. Adopt. Make Isaiah permanently hers. Yes, she said without hesitation. Absolutely yes. That night, she sat Isaiah down. I want to talk to you about something important. Okay. You might be here for a long time. Maybe forever. How would you feel about that? Isaiah's eyes got wide. Forever. If you want. If the judge says it's okay. Would you want to stay with me? Isaiah bit his lip. What if my mom gets better? Then we'll deal with that when it happens. But no matter what, I'll always be here for you. I promise. Isaiah was quiet for a long time. Then, I want to stay. Naomi hugged him. He hugged her back. And she felt something click into place inside her chest. This was her family. Not the one she'd planned. Not the one she'd imagined. But the one she'd built. The one she'd chosen. And it was perfect. Spring came and with it unexpected trouble. Naomi hadn't heard from Trevor in almost a year. Not since the divorce was finalized. She'd thought that chapter of her life was closed. Then the letters started. The first one came in April. No return address. Naomi almost threw it away without reading it. But something made her open it. Naomi, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. But I've been thinking a lot. About us. About what I did. I made the worst mistake of my life. I threw away something real for something that turned out to be nothing. Amber left. Took the baby. I haven't seen my daughter in months. I lost my job. My apartment. Everything. I have nobody. And I realize now that you were the only good thing I ever had. Please, can we talk? Just once. I need to explain. I need you to understand. Trevor. Naomi read it 3 times. The first time she felt anger. The second time satisfaction. He'd lost everything. Good. He deserved it. The third time she just felt sad. Sad that he still didn't get it. That he thought she'd care about his suffering. That he thought an explanation would change anything. She threw the letter away. A week later, another letter came. This one was longer. More desperate. Trevor talked about how sorry he was. How he'd been in therapy. How he'd changed. How he wanted a chance to make things right. Naomi didn't finish reading it. She threw it away too. Then he started showing up. At her work. At her apartment building. Security wouldn't let him up, but she'd see him in the parking lot. Waiting. You need a restraining order, Rachel advised when Naomi called her. I thought the settlement agreement covered this. It does. But a restraining order gives you more protection. If he violates it, he goes to jail. Let me file the paperwork. The restraining order was granted within a week. Trevor was served. He had to stay at least 500 feet away from Naomi at all times. For a few days there was peace. Then he violated the order. He showed up at her apartment again. This time, Naomi called the police. They arrested him. Kept him overnight. When he was released, he sent one more letter. You've ruined my life. You took everything from me. I'm left with nothing. I hope you're happy. Naomi wasn't happy. But she wasn't guilty either. She'd taken what was rightfully hers. She'd protected herself. Trevor had ruined his own life through his choices. She filed a harassment complaint. The police warned Trevor that if he contacted her again, he'd face serious charges. After that, the letters stopped. The appearances stopped. Naomi never heard from him again. But the whole situation had shaken her. Reminded her that the past could still reach out and try to drag her back. Are you okay? Julian asked. He'd been supportive through everything. Patient when she was stressed. Understanding when she needed space. I'm okay. Just tired of dealing with him. It's over now though, right? I think so. I hope so. Isaiah had noticed something was wrong. Are you mad? He asked one night at dinner. No, sweetie. Just dealing with some adult stuff. Is it about your old husband? Naomi was always honest with Isaiah. Age-appropriate but honest. Yeah. But it's handled now. You don't need to worry. I don't like him. You never met him. I don't have to. He hurt you. That makes him bad. Naomi smiled. Isaiah's fierce loyalty touched her. This boy who'd been hurt so many times. Who'd been let down by adults again and again. He was protective of her. "You're right," she said. "He did hurt me. But I'm okay now. I have you. And Julian. And Sophie. I have everything I need." "And you have me," Isaiah said seriously. "I'll protect you. I know you will." In May, Isaiah's mother completed her rehab program. She petitioned the court for visitation. The caseworker explained it to Naomi. "This is standard. She's doing well. Clean for 6 months. She deserves a chance to see her son." "I understand," Naomi said. But inside she was panicking. What if Isaiah wanted to go back to her? What if she lost him? The first visit was supervised. At a family center. Naomi drove Isaiah there and waited in the car while he went inside. He came out 2 hours later. Quiet. Thoughtful. "How was it?" Naomi asked gently. "She looks different. Better." "That's good." She said she's sorry. That she wants to be my mom again. Naomi's heart clenched. "How do you feel about that?" Isaiah was quiet for a long time. "I don't know. She's my mom. But you're my home." Naomi had to pull over because tears were blurring her vision. "Oh, sweetie. Can I have both? Can she visit but I live with you?" "I don't know. That's up to the judge. But I'll fight for you. I promise." Over the next few months, the visits continued. Isaiah's mother was doing well. She had a job. An apartment. She was stable. In July there was a court hearing. The mother's lawyer argued she should get Isaiah back. That she'd done everything required. That Isaiah belonged with his biological mother. Naomi's lawyer argued that Isaiah had been with Naomi for 7 months. That he was thriving. That changing his placement would be traumatic. The judge listened to both sides. Then she asked to speak with Isaiah privately. Naomi waited in the hallway. Praying. Hoping. Terrified. After 30 minutes, the judge called everyone back in. "I've made my decision," she said. "Isaiah will remain in Naomi's care. However, his mother will have regular visitation. We'll revisit the situation in 6 months." Naomi nearly collapsed with relief. Isaiah was staying. He was hers. At least for now. Outside the courthouse, Isaiah hugged her. "I want to stay with you. I'm so glad." "Can I call you Mom?" Naomi's eyes filled with tears. "Yes. If you want to." "I want to." That night, Naomi called Julian. "Isaiah called me Mom today." "That's incredible." "I know. I didn't think I'd ever hear that word. Not for me." "You're an amazing mother, Naomi." "He's lucky to have you." "I'm lucky to have him." "We're all lucky to have each other." In August, Julian asked Naomi to move in with him. "I know it's fast, but Sophie and Isaiah get along great. We're practically living together anyway. What do you think?" Naomi thought about it carefully. She wasn't rushing into anything. She'd learned that lesson. But this felt different. This felt right. "Yes," she said. "Let's do it." They found a house. Big enough for all of them. With a yard for the kids to play in. With space for everyone. Moving day was chaotic. Boxes everywhere. Kids running around. But it felt like home from the first moment. That night, after the kids were in bed, Naomi and Julian sat on the porch. "A year ago, I was alone in a tiny apartment," Naomi said. "Broken. Angry. Lost. And now I have everything I never knew I needed." Julian kissed her. "I love you." It was the first time he'd said it. Naomi's breath caught. "I love you too." They sat together in the dark, listening to the sounds of their new neighborhood, their new life. Trevor had tried to take everything from her. He tried to break her. But he'd failed. Because Naomi had refused to stay broken. She'd built herself back up. Stronger. Better. Truer. And now she had a life she loved. A family she'd chosen. A future full of promise. Trevor could stay in his pit of regret. Naomi was done looking back. She was moving forward. And she was never going to stop. 1 year later, Naomi stood in a courthouse again. But this time it wasn't for a divorce. It wasn't for a fight. It was for an adoption. Isaiah sat next to her in his best clothes. He'd picked out a blue shirt and tie. He looked so grown up. So happy. Julian and Sophie sat behind them. Her mother was there too. Her brother. Simone. Her whole support system. The judge smiled at them. "Are you ready to make this official?" "Yes," Naomi said. Her voice was steady. "Sure." "Isaiah, do you understand what's happening today?" Isaiah nodded seriously. "Naomi is adopting me. She's going to be my real mom forever." "She's already your real mom, isn't she?" But now it's legal. Everyone laughed. The judge signed the papers. Just like that, it was done. Isaiah was officially Naomi's son. Outside they took pictures. Isaiah couldn't stop smiling. Neither could Naomi. How does it feel? Julian asked. Perfect, Naomi said. It feels perfect. That night they had a celebration dinner at home. The whole family together. Eating and laughing and being loud. After the kids went to bed, Julian pulled out a small box. Naomi, he said. I've been thinking about this for a while. About us. About this family we've built. And I don't want to wait anymore. He opened the box. Inside was a simple, beautiful ring. Will you marry me? Naomi looked at the ring. At Julian. At the life they'd created. She thought about Trevor. About the woman she'd been when she was married to him. Small. Scared. Always trying to be what he wanted. That woman was gone. The woman she was now knew her worth. Knew what she wanted. Knew what she deserved. And Julian was all of it. Kind. Patient. Real. A partner in every sense of the word. Yes, she said. Absolutely yes. They got married 3 months later. A small ceremony in their backyard. Close friends and family only. Isaiah was the ring bearer. Sophie was the flower girl. Naomi wore a simple white dress. Julian wore a navy suit. They wrote their own vows. I promise to be your partner, Naomi said. To support you. To be honest with you. To build this life with you day by day. I promise to love you exactly as you are, Julian said. To never ask you to be anything but yourself. To be grateful every day that you chose me. They kissed. Everyone cheered. It was the happiest moment of Naomi's life. The reception was full of joy. Dancing and music and laughter. At one point, Naomi looked around at everyone she loved. Her son. Her husband. Her stepdaughter. Her family. This wasn't the life she'd planned. It was better. Later that night, after the guests had gone home, Naomi sat on the porch with a glass of wine. Julian came out and sat next to her. What are you thinking about? He asked. Everything. How far I've come. How different my life is. Do you ever regret it? How things happened. Naomi thought about it honestly. I regret the pain. The betrayal. The lies. But I don't regret where it led me. If Trevor hadn't done what he did, I might never have left. I might have stayed in that marriage forever. Miserable but too scared to change. I'm glad you left. Me too. Do you ever wonder what happened to him? Sometimes. But I don't look him up. I don't ask. He's not part of my story anymore. That's healthy. I also think about Amber sometimes. And their daughter. I hope they're okay. But it's not my responsibility. I had to let it go. You did the right thing. They sat in comfortable silence. The night was cool. The stars were out. I'm going to finish my master's next semester, Naomi said. And then I want to work with foster families. Help other parents learn how to care for kids who've been through trauma. That's perfect for you. I also want to foster again. Once Isaiah is more settled. There are so many kids who need homes. Our house is big enough, Julian said. And Sophie's been asking about having more siblings. Really? Really? She loves being a big sister. Naomi smiled. Then let's do it. Let's help more kids. They sat together under the stars. Making plans. Dreaming about the future. Building their life together. Inside the house, Isaiah called out. Mom? Can you come here? Mom. The word still made Naomi's heart swell every time she heard it. Coming, baby, she called back. She went inside. Julian followed. They tucked Isaiah in together. Read him a story. Kissed him goodnight. I love you, Mom, Isaiah said sleepily. I love you too, sweetheart. Back in their bedroom, getting ready for bed, Naomi caught her reflection in the mirror. She looked happy. Healthy. Whole. She thought about the woman who'd stood in that yellow nursery 3 years ago. The woman who'd felt like her world was ending. If she could go back and tell that woman anything, what would she say? That it gets better. That the pain doesn't last forever. That betrayal and loss can be the beginning of something new, not just the end of something old. That family isn't about biology. It's about love. It's about choice. It's about showing up every day and choosing to care. That she's stronger than she knows. That she'll survive. That she'll thrive. That revenge isn't about destroying the person who hurt you. It's about building a life so good they become irrelevant. And Naomi had done that. She'd taken the worst thing that ever happened to her and turned it into the catalyst for her best life. She climbed into bed next to Julian. He pulled her close. I'm so happy, she whispered. Me too. Thank you. For loving me. For being patient. For giving me time to heal. Thank you for letting me in. For taking a chance on us. They fell asleep like that. Wrapped around each other. Safe. Home. Trevor had wanted to build a secret family. A hidden life. A lie. Naomi had built the real thing. Out in the open. Honest. True. She'd won. Not because she'd destroyed him. But because she'd saved herself. And that was the best revenge of all.